Hey guys, it's Lucius Shadow and
ClubChrisette.
And we just saw it Chapter 2 yesterday.
And it was pretty damn good.
I'd say so. Before we talk about that one, let's give some brief thoughts on the first one, because she actually saw the first one
just a few nights ago.
Yeah, first time last week. Cause she wanted to watch it in preparation for this one. I loved the first one.
I adored the first part for so many reasons. What I really liked about it was a great story with horror elements, not a horror film with story elements.
Yeah, pretty much. And I really like the kid actors were surprisingly really good. It's hard to find good kid actors, but I feel like
they did excellent. Of course, we were talking about how they had to get one of the Stranger Things kids.
They had to.
I feel bad for Finn. I've not seen anything else with him besides Stranger Things and it. But I was telling Lucius over here how he probably feels like he rides a bike and everything that he's casted.
Probably. It's like he's gonna be typecast as the little boy that always rides bikes. Oh god, but yeah, this should be an interesting video because I've read the book. You haven't read the book.
So you'll have a comparison, just like last time. I didn't read any of the Scary Stories books, but he did. So
yeah, and the first one surprisingly stuck to the book closer than I was expecting. But it changed what needed to be changed. Yeah, there was a lot in the book that it just wouldn't. It works as it's written, but it just won't work visually. You have to change it visually. Of course, it's not, instead of being in the 50s, it's in the 80s, which I liked that setting.
I appreciated that setting as well, because as someone who grew up in the 90s, their era was somewhat relatable.
Yeah, I didn't grow up in the 80s, and I grew up very, very late 90s, but yeah, it was relatable. I remember doing a lot of the same stuff that they
were doing, yeah, exploring ditches and the like, so more outdoorsy stuff. They were hardly ever indoors. So.
Yeah, I remember that as a kid. I played outside a lot.
Exactly.
So yeah, we really liked the first one, and so yeah, we're gonna do a non-spoiler talk first, which will honestly probably be pretty short.
Oh yeah.
I think we have a lot more to say about the spoilers. But so yeah, if you haven't seen any of the trailers, Chapter 2. It's been 27 years since the first one. Pennywise has returned and he's killing more people again. And so, at the end of the first movie, they all promised to come back if the clown came back. And Mike, who's the only one of them still living in Derry, calls them all back to defeat it, basically.
Exactly.
Yeah, and I guess one thing I want to talk about first is the cast.
I loved the cast. You could not convince me that the cast members who were kids were not the same person, because they were just so well casted.
Yeah, not only did they give really good performances, they got really good actors. They got actors and an actress that looked like the kids all grown up. I was especially to me, the one that looked most like the kid actor was probably Eddie's actor.
Oh my god, I know.
I'm always gonna remember as Deputy So-and-so from Sinister. That's all I see him as.
No, I totally get it. No, I know what you mean. On Twitter last night, after my husband and I got home from watching the movie with you, we were looking at Twitter and there was a side-by-side comparison of the two, and I was like, shit, they look exactly alike.
He could be his dad. He could be the kid actor's dad.
He could be his ancient brother.
Pretty much. And of course, the Skarsgård as the clown still does a really good job.
He does.
He's still really menacing and
He is. I loved his performance as Pennywise so much.
Yeah,
like especially in this one, because I feel like you get to see a lot more of him trying to innocently lure people in. Like, you see that only like once in part 1 with Georgie, and then after that everyone's just kind of like not buying him, you know?
He just scares everyone and everything. And
exactly.
Yeah, with this, which I thought was interesting in this, like you said, we see him luring kids more in this one, which I was like, that's interesting, because like how like that was one of my complaints in about the first one. My small minor complaints is I'm like, he looks, it sounds weird, but he looks a little too menacing. I'm like, to the point where I'm like, okay, yeah, what rationalized, sound-minded kid would ever approach this thing?
Exactly.
Unlike in the 80s version with Tim Curry, I was like, okay, yeah, he just looks like a regular clown. I can see why a kid would approach it, because he looks like a regular clown.
Exactly. I feel like that version of Pennywise, because you and I were talking about this just over there, like how, you know, this version of Pennywise does not have an understanding of human concepts that are efficient, as where the original one kind of had a better concept of what human children would actually go to and the like.
Yeah,
so.
He doesn't have, you said he doesn't have a concept of like what they would go to visually, so he manipulates them with words. Like,
exactly.
He'll say things to get them to come to him, and maybe think that he's not like his appearance.
As bad.
He's not what his appearance makes him look.
And
like.
You see that in part 2.
Yeah. And one thing I also noticed, there was a lot more. This movie was a lot funnier than the first one.
Oh yeah.
There's a lot more focus on comedy in this one, strangely enough. It's fun. I like it. There's still a few scares, but a lot of the scares are funny too. On top of making you jump.
Like, that's something I do appreciate about this one. Like, it does have those more comedic aspects. It kind of loosens up on the serious tone, and I don't know if they did that because that was a complaint previously, or if because they were like, we gotta give Bill Hader the funny parts or whatever.
I feel like they might have done it because maybe they sort of wanted to contrast the two, like how, oh yeah, you would think, you know, the part with the kids would be more silly and the adults would be more serious, whereas it's the other way around. The kids, it's more serious, the adults, it's a little bit more comedic and fun.
Right.
Sort of. It's, the whole movie very much reminded me of something that Sam Raimi, the guy who did the Evil Dead movies, would make. Like, a lot of the scares in it are like something that would be in Evil Dead or something. It has some weird looking creatures and stuff in it. I really liked this one. It's just like with for the most part, just like with the first one, it changed what it needed to, because there's, I wasn't sure how I was gonna like this one going in, because when I was reading the book, the parts with the kids is really interesting, and it's my favorite part of the book. I always wanted to go back to when they're kids, because it's all told in flashbacks, so you're constantly flashing back to what between them as adults and them as kids.
Right.
And I would always want to go back to the kids, and then when they go back to the adults, it was just so boring. No offense to Stephen King, I love Stephen King, but it was just, there was so much stuff that needed to be cut out of the adult parts. And it was just, and even, same thing in the 1980s version with Tim Curry. Yeah, the scenes where they're adults is just awful. Like, the adult actors are terrible, whereas the kid actors in that one are actually surprisingly really good. And I kind of can't blame them, because they're given like really bad lines to read. Like, I remember Richie at one point has a line where he says, "Oh, wake up, guys! Sniff the air. You smell that? That's death." And it's just so stupid. I'm like, such a bad line.
Jesus Christ.
But yeah, it wasn't like that with this one. This one, I'm like, yeah, this is all. I technically like the kids still more. Like I if I had to pick between the two, I still like the first movie a lot more.
yeah.
But yeah, I wasn't bored with this one. I'm like, okay, yeah, I like seeing this cast. I wanna keep going back and forth between them,
Right.
or see them together, and they all had really good chemistry. Like
They really did,
whenever they interacted, I'm like, yeah, I believe these are childhood friends.
Especially in that scene where you first see them all get together.
Yeah, that was what really sold me, and that's really early on in the movie when they're all in the Chinese restaurant
yes,
together.
and they're all talking, and Richie's like, "You're every single Brazilian soccer player."
Yeah, Richie's just cracking all sorts of jokes, which Bill Hader's probably my favorite character in
Oh
this.
yeah.
He's really good, and I love Bill Hader. And we'll get into more why I like his character in the spoiler discussion.
Yes, definitely.
But yeah, the visuals were pretty interesting, though I feel like there was a bit more reliance on CG in this one.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, there wasn't as much practical effects. Which, I mean, the CG looks fine, but like, I don't know, I'm one of those people that's just, I like practical effects.
Oh no, and I do too.
I like seeing things that are actually there.
Exactly. Well, I mean, like, I felt like, for anyone who's seen the first trailer, you'll know that the old woman is like one of the monsters, and she actually is, of course, in the movie, but like her overall when she becomes a monster isn't as exciting.
Yeah, I was laughing. Like I was.
You were though.
Like I jumped a little at the reveal, but I was still laughing because, like I said, it looked like something out of Evil Dead.
Exactly.
Which is a fun horror movie that you're just it's like going to a haunted house.
Exactly.
You're just going there to have fun, not necessarily be scared out of your skin.
Exactly.
But yeah, it was just. Overall, it was just really good. I don't think there's much more we can talk about.
There's really
spoilers.
not too much.
Yeah.
I mean, the conclusion to the story was really good. It tied up a lot of loose ends.
Yeah,
it was very satisfying. So
yeah, they like I said, they changed what they needed to, and yeah, if you've read the book and you liked the first movie, I think you'd like this one. And even if you did and you like the first movie, yeah, definitely go see this one. It's perfect continuation.
It really is,
really,
though.
Really good.
As someone who hasn't read the book, I liked it as well. So
yeah. So that'll probably end our non-spoiler discussion. So yeah, go ahead and click away. Go see the movie, please. And if you've already seen the movie like us, go ahead and stay, and we'll get into even more discussions, and I'm really excited about this.
Yes.
So